Every Wednesday afternoon, Story Van Ness arrives at South Press in Knoxville. At night, this coffee shop will turn into a karaoke bar and drag show, and Story is always its hostess. As a transgender woman raised in Tennessee, she spent years hiding who she was. It wasn't until she turned 18 and stepped out onto her first drag show stage that she realized it didn't have to be that way.
And I didn't have the words for it. It was one of the few times I felt powerful, I felt seen, I felt right in my skin. I can do anything I need to do when I'm in drag.
Wait, are all the children out of the building? Are there any children? Look around. If you're a child, raise your hand. Not emotionally, I mean like legally.
Over the past year, conservatives have launched a campaign against an art form with a centuries-old history among LGBTQ performers. Many Republican lawmakers and activists argue that drag performers are inherently inappropriate, sexual in nature, and pose a threat to children. A new law in Tennessee restricts performances in public. Repeat offenders could face a felony charge and up to 6 years in prison. The law is the first of its kind to pass, but may not be the only. There are similar bills being considered in at least 17 states. For Story and her friend who performs under the name Harry Scary, it's begun to feel like their very existence is a political act.
The agenda is to just exist and to feel valid.
The agenda is to be able to go to the bathroom without having to worry about being punched in the face.
And all we can do is say that it's bad and it's wrong and please don't do this to us. But they have found us to be a really effective political tool.
Since the tragic shooting at a Christian school in Nashville, the nation's eyes have been on Tennessee. Gun control took center stage the same week the drag law was set to take effect.
Tell me what democracy looks like!
Historic youth protests broke out at the state capitol.
It's all your fault!
Democratic lawmakers who took part were expelled and reinstated. And since the police initially identified the shooter as trans, the state has felt like a powder keg.
I was just sick over it. Then I found out about the identity of the shooter. My whole soul just sank. It's just going to be one more thing that they're going to use to try to exterminate us.
Over the last 12 to 18 months, we've seen videos surface of performances taking place either in public areas, public parks, or in venues where children are present. And some of these videos were shocking in terms of their sexually graphic nature.
State Senate Majority Leader Jack Johnson, a Republican from Franklin, Tennessee, sponsored the new restrictive legislation. The law targets adult-oriented performances that are harmful to minors. It doesn't say exactly how performances will be determined to be harmful or sexual. Have you been to drag shows?
Have not. But I've seen videos. I've seen videos of drag. Well, and I guess I should say, have I been to places where a man was dressed as a woman and performing or singing, and maybe they were dressed, it was a Halloween party and they were dressed up as Dolly Parton? Of course I have.
Are you trying to send a signal?
Of course
that
not.
Some types of communities, some types of people aren't welcome here in Tennessee?
The only signal I'm trying to send is that you shouldn't be doing sexually graphic, you shouldn't be simulating sex acts in front of children.
Who's going to decide what's sexually explicit, what's inappropriate? I've looked through the language of the bill, and it's not clear at all who's going to make that determination.
Well, the same way any law is enforced, with our law enforcement, our district attorneys.
While some drag shows can be raunchy, those events are marketed to adults and typically held in nightclubs.
I'm proud that Tennessee's getting recognition for the fact that we don't think you should simulate sex acts in front of kids in a public park.
Still haven't gotten a name or a location or a venue where that happened.
We will be happy to send you videos, and if you haven't seen them.
The videos provided to NBC News do show children brought by parents to adult-themed shows. Only 1 out of 4 videos provided took place in Tennessee.
I've seen some of what has been shared, and some of it's taken out of context. Some of it is a bad choice made by a performer, but it's also, parents are in the room. You can decide, oh, that's not appropriate for my child, and leave.
You want to come out? You can.
Toni Stockton is a conservative Christian mother of 4, homeschooling her kids out on their farm near Nashville. Drag has made her an unlikely political activist. She heard that drag queens wanted to read stories to kids at her local library. She started a parent group and forced the library to cancel.
I grew up in Georgia, but raised by a single mama, raised in an apartment.
Yeah.
I didn't have any of this, so this is such a blessing.
Toni describes her childhood as chaotic. She says God and her family gave her stability, the kind she believes every child should have.
God designed us, He made us male and female. What's happening right now is we are living in the age of just mass confusion. You know, little boys, put on Disney dresses, and little girls, it's just, there's so much confusion that it's the
Why protest their events? Why they don't come to your church? So why go and tell them they can't go to a library?
Well, the live and let live is very dangerous. When you don't stand on biblical convictions, people will always go the way of culture.
There are children who are LGBTQ. Mm-hmm. Do you think they have a right to meet other adults, to go to events at libraries where they see people who reflect them?
Not if it's over-sexualized in nature.
When I brought up different styles of drag, Toni found them all sexual in nature.
Every single one that I've seen overly sexualized. What's happening with the trans movement that affects my life is wanting us to go along with something that defies our conscience as Christians.
Is it a movement, or is it people just trying to live their lives authentically?
You mean with the trans?
Yeah, you can call it a trans movement.
And I don't even know if that's the right word to call it. I just somewhere along the way, these people have gotten confused.
Let kids be kids! Let kids be kids! Let kids be kids!
This has become a centerpiece of the latest culture war. Recent reporting by the LGBTQ advocacy group GLAAD found 166 incidents of anti-LGBTQ protests, attacks, and threats targeting drag events since early 2022.
Stop grooming children! You are anti-Constitution yourself!
Extremist groups have protested from Nevada to New York, and in one case, firebombed a drag performance in Ohio.
Hello, everybody. Hi.
How do we bring people together?
Now the nationwide organization Drag Story Hour, which has hosted theatrical book readings at libraries since 2015, is rethinking how to move forward safely.
We're going to be creating the Royal Guard, which is going to be a volunteer-based safety marshal program.
The San Francisco chapter formed a new security plan to escort performers to and from events. They're planning de-escalation trainings and offering courses in CPR and gunshot wound response.
We're getting specific bomb threats of places, times, performers, dates. It's real. We really need a de-escalation plan and a protocol to keep people safe.
Why drag? Why not just read to kids in the library?
Why not drag? Everything is drag.
Have you tried to keep the attention of a child with something that is boring? You can't, they're gone.
What are you facing?
A lot of projection.
Panda Dulce, a trained social worker and educator, likes doing Drag Story Hour for one simple reason. When they were little, they wished they had more role models like them.
I love this book so much. It's about binaries. And so the whole premise of this is that it's a world of this or that, blue or yellow. You can only be blue or yellow. And then one day, there's a green animal who's basically ostracized for its color. It's important to understand that we're all complicated people and full of color and life.
Did you guys call the cops?
But when Proud Boys stormed Panda's reading, their joy evaporated.
Did it change you?
I am not the same person I was before. I had to digitally scrub my presence. I got gun trained. I never thought I would touch a gun in my life. I bought weapons. I enrolled in self-defense classes.
For months, they considered leaving drag behind.
Now, every time I go to a drag show, every time I'm walking out of a drag show, clenching my keys between my fingers, do they want me to be in fight flight for the rest of my life? Do they want me to think twice every time we are visibly different? And the answer is yes. And I think the question just becomes, are you going to let that happen?
The same question haunted Story the night of National Trans Day of Visibility. She almost canceled a gathering she organized in downtown Knoxville.
For me, being visible is more important than ever, but it's also absolutely terrifying. Finally, it shows our refusal to be denied our rights to life, to liberty, and to the pursuit of happiness, just like every other American.
A few hours after Story spoke, a Trump-appointed judge placed a temporary restraining order on Senator Jack Johnson's legislation just hours before it was set to go into effect, taking sides with performers who argued it violated their First Amendment rights. The next night in downtown Nashville, hundreds of Christians, including Tony Stockton, convened at the state capitol to pray for victims of the Covenant School tragedy, which the pastor leading the prayer, Sean Foyt, linked to the issue of gender identity as they live-streamed to the public.
I want to invite the Senate Majority Leader, Jack Johnson, over the state. I want to invite him up here. America saw, of course, the violent images of what happened at Covenant Christian School. And I think it's time for the people of God to rise up and say no more. And so can you extend your hand to this amazing legislator, his family? I just want to pray over him. There's a harvest coming with those that battle with sexual identity issues. We thank you, Jesus, that you're going to bring salvation, that you're going to bring deliverance, and that you're going to bring healing. How many believe that?
Heavenly Father, I pray that America would find the Bible.
Pastor Ken Peters, a friend of Tony Stockton who lobbied for the drag law, says this battle isn't over.
Christians are under attack in our nation.
When you look at the number of kids dying from guns year after year right now, are you praying for the wrong kind of reform?
Well, how are you going to stop bad people from getting guns?
Why does regulation not work for guns, but it does work for drag shows?
Well, because you can stop drag shows. You can't stop criminals from getting guns.
For Story, there wasn't much time to celebrate the judge's temporary restraining order. It's set to expire at the end of May, and performers may soon have to go to trial to defend their work. For now, the show must go on. She still holds out hope that one day she may live to see a different Tennessee.
Every day I consider moving to a bluer state, to moving to somewhere where that they have protections for people like me, somewhere where I don't have to fight insurance to get the health care that I need. Somewhere where I can walk down the street in relative safety. I'm terrified, but I can't leave because I know that I would never forgive myself.